Chapter 30 of Shrimadbhagavatha, Kapila and his teachings. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. After Kardama went away to the forest bent on sannyasa, the young son Kapila stayed in the ashrama on the banks of the picturesque lake Bindussaras with his mother. Days passed. Devahuti remembered the words of Brahma. My dear daughter, Lord Narayana desires to teach the world Brahma Vidya, and hence he has decided to be born as your son. He will teach you the Brahma Vidya, which will rid you of avidya, ignorance, which is the cause of pain in this world. Devahuti saw her son sitting all by himself and went to him. She said, You are my son, and I know you are the Lord Narayana. I am asking you to help me. I am tired of his life, which I have spent in gratifying the senses. Tired of this life, which I have spent in gratifying the senses. You are the sun which has risen to dispel the darkness from the minds of ordinary people like me. I have the great good fortune to be the mother of the Lord. Tell me what I want to know. Tell me what I want to know. In the body made up of the 5 elements, you have instilled the feelings of I and mine. You have it susceptible to the several emotions like love and hatred, and this evil of ignorance has been drawn across the Atman by you and you alone. It is up to you to remove it and save us. Teach me the path to peace. Teach me the path of mukti, salvation. Tell me about your nature. Purusha and Prakriti are both you, and if I learn about them, they say I will find freedom from the bondage of births and deaths. Kapila's face was lit up by a smile of pure affection, and he looked at his mother. He said, I will tell you. In my opinion, there is only one yoga which will entirely destroy the pains and pleasures which are the resultants of samsara. I taught this yoga to the rishis of yore when they were eager to learn it. I will teach you the same yoga now. I will, however, make the lesson easier for you. Anyone can understand this path to salvation. Mother, it is the mind which is the cause of bondage as well as freedom. Consider the mind. When it gets involved in the 3 gunas, when there is an upset in the balance of the 3 gunas, then one of the gunas becomes predominant and the Atman gets involved in the play of the emotions. The mind turns away from the inner self and begins to be interested in the objects of the senses. It seeks gratification from them and it wanders farther and farther away from the Atman. This same mind, if it is turned inwards, if it attaches itself to the Purusha, the Lord, Ishvara, Narayana, then this same mind will be the cause of freedom of man from the coils of the senses. This path is called by the name Chitta Sanyamana. Chitta Sanyamana. And it is the first step towards the goal. When the feelings of I and mine disappear, the mind at once becomes free of kama, krodha and other qualities. It becomes pure and is fit enough to lead you to me. The pleasures of the world and the pains will not affect it anymore. When it is equipped with vairagya, detachment or rather non-attachment, with bhakti, which is devotion to me, and with jnana, which is knowledge of the truth about me, then the mind is able to perceive the Brahman. Of all the paths to me, mother, bhakti is the easiest and surest. There is no other path which grants you freedom as quickly as the path of devotion. The wise say, the sangha, attachment, is the one imperishable quality which is inherent in man. When it is imperishable, when it is evergreen without any possibility of getting destroyed, obviously it cannot be ignored. Mother, attachment is always there. The way to salvation is to use this same Sangha as an instrument. Let the attachment be there by all means. Only do not feed it with the usual sense objects. Change the object of desire, of attachment. You have been attached to the things of the world. Let the attachment remain, but make the object different. In place of the worldly objects, substitute Narayana. Attachment to Narayana makes the ties to the other things snap, and the way is easy. This process of transforming the attachment from the lower to the higher will naturally be a gradual process. It is not possible to abandon the one and adopt the other all on a sudden. The mind will refuse to cooperate. The ultimate aim should be called a Mukta Sangha. The best method of schooling the mind to follow this path is to have the company of sadhus. When the mind becomes attached to the company of sadhus, it would have abandoned the earlier attractions, and the next step is made easy. How can the mind be led towards thoughts of the Lord? It is easier than it seems. As I said before, kama, lobha, the feeling of I and mine, are the impurities which cloud the mind, turn it away from its goal, and make it cling to the objects of the senses. A mind free of the impurities, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, and matsarya, will naturally turn towards the Lord. Once this is achieved, once you are a Mukta Sangha, you should now spend your time in Sat Sangha, the company of sadhus. Attachment, the evergreen body which ties you down, should be for sadhus. Who are the sadhus? What are their characteristics? How can they be recognized? I will tell you. The sufferings, the ills and pains that the physical body is here to do not affect the sadhus. They are full of compassion for all men. All living beings are, to them, their kinsmen. They love all beings. Naturally, they have no enemies. They are at peace with themselves. Their minds are clear and tranquil, without agitations, and they never swerve from the path of righteousness. Their conduct is ever flawless, and their thought flow towards me and only towards me. They have no other duties, obligations, relations, no other claims on their affections or thoughts. They are interested only in stories about me, and they are happy when they relate these stories to others. The troubles of the world are no troubles for them because they refuse to be affected by them. They are free from attachment, and such people are called sadhus. Mother, pray that your mind becomes attached to these people. They are capable of helping you to break away from other attachments. Constant company of sadhus makes you familiar with the stories about me, stories which please the ear and which gladden the heart. Pleasure in these stories leads to a constant interest in me, and this interest becomes finally enjoyment, meaning you will enjoy thinking on me and only on me. This enjoyment will then become bhakti, devotion to me. Satsanga leads to Shraddha, this to Rati, and Rati leads to Bhakti. Because of the Bhakti you develop for me, the mind becomes slowly, gradually, but surely disgusted with the sense objects. The things of the world which were once attractive are no longer so. The pleasures which you once enjoyed cease to please you. The mind becomes keen on discovering methods by which it can be focused steadily on the Lord. The emancipated man tries very earnestly for salvation. He has no taste for the snare which nature casts about him, and his intelligence becomes sharp and keen. This is because of the non-attachment to the senses and the objects of the senses. Surrendering himself entirely to me, he becomes one with me, even in this bondage-ridden birth. Devahuti was listening intently. She now unnerved and said, "Tell me, how an ignorant woman like me, one who has not studied the Vedas or learned the many truths which the wise have learned, how can I reach you? Which is the easiest path which leads to you?" "Bhakti," said Kapila. "It is Bhakti Yoga which will help you, whether it be the senses which are involved in the world of objects, whether it be the mind which is involved in the daily duties and actions dictated by the Vedas. The only path which will free both of these from the particular fields in which they are engaged is a sincere and spontaneous desire for the attainment of salvation. This desire will be granted by an effortless devotion to Narayana. This devotion will burn away the bondage of karma and the bondage created by the senses, like the fire in the body burns up the food which is eaten. Bhakti will not only grant you oneness with the Lord, but it will also free you from the world of objects. Mukti, release, will follow as a matter of course when you become a pilgrim in the path of bhakti. Sadhus who think only of serving me, who are attached only to me, who perform actions to please only me, who talk nothing but my stories, such people do not desire even to get salvation. They are so happy with the thoughts of me. In their mind's eye, they see my form always. And so, whether they ask for it or not, I grant them mukti. Lost as they are in thoughts of me, they are not attracted by the glories of the heavenly worlds, but still I grant them all that since they are entitled to them. My bhaktas will never be destroyed. The wheel of time, which is my formidable weapon, is powerless as far as they are concerned, since they become one with me. I am everything to a bhakta. I am dear to him as a son, is his confidant like a friend, his instructor, his well-wisher, his beloved. My bhaktas have no fear of anything, since everything in this universe is under my sway. It is in fear of me that the wind blows. Fear of me makes the sun shine. Parjanya rains from the heavens, because he stands in fear of me. The fire burns and Yama keeps a watchful eye on everything. All because I have appointed them to do so. But yogis who have conquered the world of the senses are afraid of nothing, and they reach me without any doubt. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Chapter 31 of Shrimadbhagavatam, Kapila's Teachings 2. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I will now tell you the secret about the Purusha and about how he has pervaded the universe. This yoga is again Atma Vidya, by mastering which you will reach salvation. All one's doubt will vanish on their own accord once this yoga is understood. The Atman in you is the Purusha. He has no beginning and no end. He is self-luminant, and there is nothing which is not the Purusha, which is different from the Purusha. He pervades everything. He is eternal. Prakriti, however, is the cause of the conditioning of the Atman. Purusha is eternal, as I said before, and he is that which pervades the world of plurality. He is beyond the three gunas. How then can one reconcile the two aspects of Purusha? One is pure and the other is a world of plurality. How did the Purusha, who is beyond the reach of the gunas and beyond Prakriti, how did he become involved in this apparent process of births and deaths? It is not a puzzle to the wise. Prakriti is made up of two powerful ingredients, Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. When the three gunas are so well balanced that there is perfect equilibrium, then we have what is called the Nirguna state, guna-lessness. Time is again another form of the Purusha. When time moves on, the gunas are suddenly found to have lost their equilibrium. It gets upset and one of the three gunas, the Rajas, manifests itself. After that, the other two. When the gunas thus come into action, the Avarana and Vikshepa also come into their own. Purusha now assumes two forms, Jiva and Ishvara. Jiva is that aspect of the Purusha which becomes involved in the play of the gunas. Avarana makes the Jivatma forget himself, forget his true nature, and this state of the Purusha is called avidya. Not knowing. ignorance of the truth about himself. Along with avidya, vikshepa also comes into force. Vikshepa causes the agitation. It is considered to be maya, the illusion which makes one think that the unreal is the real. These two, avarana and vikshepa, together cause avidya and maya. When the jivatma gets involved in this, it forgets its true nature. It identifies itself with the world of plurality and gets involved more and more deeply. The other aspect of the Purusha, which goes by the name Ishvara, is the one who does not get deluded by the two powerful forces of Prakriti. For one to be free of this Maya and reach the state where the forces of Prakriti do not capture the Jiva, one path is enough: Bhakti Yoga. Mother, think on the Lord all the time. Bhakti will, of its own accord, grant you Jnana and Vairagya. You do not have to seek them. Love for the Lord Narayana will make you indifferent to other loves, and so non-attachment is achieved. Bhakti will show you the way to the feet of Narayana. When a bhakta realizes that the only aim in his life is to reach Narayana and strives for it, that means that he has learned the truth and his avidya has vanished. He knows that Narayana is the only truth and nothing else. It is the Brahman or the Purusha or the Ishvara or the Bhagavan according to the different yogas which seek him. It is this which is revealed in all the manifestations in the world of plurality. The one who realizes this is the Brahman himself. Realizing the Brahman is not a knowing but a becoming. You will know that you are the Brahman. The Jiva will know that he is the Ishvara, the Purusha. The Jnana Yoga taught by me and the Bhakti Yoga on which I elaborated earlier are in reality the same. One is not different from the other. Mother, I have taught you the different pathways of approach. You can rest assured that any one of the paths, when followed earnestly, will help attain salvation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Chapter 32 of Shrimadbhaagavatha, the end of Devahuti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Kapila's mission was over. He had been born to propagate the Sankhya to the world through his mother. He had done it and now he was free to go. He took leave of his mother and went away. Devahuti spent the rest of her life in the manner taught by her son. She stayed in the ashrama. Her black curly locks became brown, matted and lifeless because of her frequent bathing in the Bindussaras. Her body became emaciated because of the severity of her ritas. Dressed in tree barks, she began to perform the yoga taught to her by Kapila, the Lord himself. She gave away all that she once thought was hers. She missed her husband and she missed her son. She had been taught the science of detachment, and yet it was not easy for her to adopt it at once. She thought of her son day and night. He had told her that she should let her thoughts flow towards Narayana night and day like a perennial stream, and she was doing just that. She thought of the beautiful face of Kapila. Her mind became still and steady gradually. She could then think on the form of Narayana. She practiced the Ashtanga Yoga and her mind was bent on the Brahman. Her avidya had been burnt up by her tapas, and with avidya vanished all her pain and misery. She forgot all about her body and its many functions, like a man forgets his dream state the moment he wakes up. Devahuti reached the Brahmi state in no time. The spot where she attained the Brahmin is a holy spot, a tirtha. The body which shed then became a river which even the Devas use to purify themselves. The holy spot is called Siddhapada. Thus, Devahuti, the daughter of Manu, became greater than all the great Jivan Muktas because of the great lesson she learned from her son Kapila Vasudeva. Kapila, after he left his mother, travelled towards the northwest. Siddhas, Charanas, and Gandharvas worshipped him wherever he went. The Lord of the oceans worshipped him with Arghya and Padya and offered Kapila a quiet spot inside his region where he could continue his tapas. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Chapter 33 of Shrimadbhagavatam. Yajna, the son of Akuti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Swayambhu Manu had 3 daughters and 2 sons. The sons were Priyavrata and Uttanapada. The daughters were Akuti, Devahuti and Prasuti. Akuti was given by Manu to a rishi by name Ruchi. This marriage was performed in accordance with the rule called Putrika Dharma. When a man has only daughters and no sons, he gives away his daughters to a worthy man and says, I am giving you this maiden who has no brother. The son who is born to her must be your son as well as mine. Manu had 2 sons, and yet with a desire for another son he performed Akuti's marriage in this manner. Ruchi was great Rishi and an ardent devotee of Narayana. To him and Akuti were born 2 children, a son and a daughter. The son was Narayana himself, and he was named Yajna, since he was said to be the personification of Yajna. The daughter was named Dakshina, and she was the goddess Lakshmi. Manu was immensely pleased that the Lord himself had been born as his son and took him to his house. Dakshina stayed with Ruchi and Akuti. Yajna then married Dakshina according to religious rites. 12 sons were born to them. Every Manvantara, that is, every epoch of a Manu, has to have a Manu. Devas, Manu Putras, Sureshwaras, Rishis, and an avatara of Narayana. In Swayambhu Manvantara, that is, during the time of Swayambhu Manu, 12 sons of Yajna were the Sureshwaras, and the Rishis led by the Maricha were the 7 Rishis. Yajna was the avatara of Narayana and also Indra. Priyavrata and Uttanapada were the Manu Putras. The Swayambhu Manvantara was peopled by these. Devahuti was married to Kardama Prajapati and her son was Kapila. Her daughters were 9. Kala, the eldest of them, was the wife of Marichi, and one of the sons was the great Kashyapa. Purnima was a daughter, and her daughter was Deva Kulya, who was later to be called Ganga. The next daughter, Shraddha, who was married to Angirasa, was the mother of Brihaspati. Havirbhu was the wife of Pulastya, and her son was Agastya. Vishravas was another son. The son of Vishravas was Kubera. The other wife of Vishravas was Kaikhasi, and she was the mother of Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishana. Kratu's wife Kriya was the mother of the rishis by name Valakilyas. Khyati, the wife of Bhrigu, had 2 sons, one of whom was the father of Mrikhandu. Ushanas, who is better known as Kavi, was the son of Bhrigu. He was Shukra, the Acharya of the Asuras. Daksha Prajapati married Prasuti, the other daughter of Manu. They had 16 daughters. 13 of them were given to Dharma. 1 was given to Agni, 1 to Pitris, and 1 to Lord Mahadeva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnarpanamastu.